Why do you think that is? And what about today? Do you think today has the quality of yesterday, or do you think it's a kind of debasement of yesterday?
I think today we cannot avoid to have identity of today. You know, if we look at people's way of dress or look their hair or the way they're sitting, if you look at the photo in the 20 years ago or 30 years or even just 10 years ago, you compare the two photos, you can clearly see it's very different. If we look at the old photos, every 10 years, you know, the way people, even just the way they sit is very different because the condition of the chair changed or the food in our stomach are different. You know, who knows, all the lighting are different, you know. So every year in history, you consciously or not, you leave a clear mark. Sometimes we can call it art because done consciously, sometimes it just on the photograph or films, but we all leave some kind of traces for the next generation to look at us. That's how I think.
So when you decided to take something that affects Turkey very, very much indeed, in a very good, and not in a good way, I'm sorry, I'm sorry about my words here, I mean the way that Turkey has received the many, many, many refugees does Turkey huge, huge credit in many ways, but at the same time, I think that at the center of this exhibition are these extraordinary pots and plates done in China by extraordinary craftsmen that somehow commemorate a very, very difficult situation, but also in a way that is, I mean, as it were, the moral dilemma of these things being so beautiful. How do you kind of react to that? What do you feel about that? Because they are beautiful. They are fantastically beautiful, and in my opinion, they will serve as extraordinary witnesses to the difficult situation that is existing in this part of the world, that is not the fault of Turkey in any way at all, on the contrary.
Yeah, this is a very, very broad and deep issue here. Let's talk about beauty first, before I forget. I think the most important literature or art is always relate to our difficult moment. You know, in the history, if we can remember any poetry, any literature can be read, can be still memorable, it's always related to human suffering and difficult time, and this is obvious. So we cannot just simply separate the human tragedy with the beauty. There's a lot of pain and suffering. At the same time, there's a lot of beauty, and that make human and humanity understand its own condition or own. It makes people more alert. It's sad, but it's really make people much more alert. And then talk about this refugee situation, because I can come to, first time I come to see this museum is when I started doing a film called Human Flow, and which is about my personal journey in trying to understanding what happened. And when I first time see some refugees come down the boat on Lesbos, and I see more boats come. I wait there like 24 hours, that every hour would have a boat with a lot of people on the boat. And those people could be baby, or could be pregnant lady, or could be very old lady, could be 80, 90 years old. And they have nothing, just empty-handed. You see, they are quite well-dressed. Many of them are very educated people. And the children are in silent. They're not crying, but the foot almost cannot walk because being frozen or wet in the ocean. And many from news you can see many people lost their life and trying to pass this very short
sea journey.
Yeah, very 3 kilometers journey. You can see the other side. So that make me decide to really know who are they? Why they have to? What made them to give up their home? It's not really home, to give up their generations, land, language, religion, and to carry those old and young and to go so far away, to risk to lose their life. Just too many people drowned. Over 5,000 in 1915. 5,000. That means 10 jets being shot down, and there's just very little talk about them. On the shore, nobody received them. This is Europe. So I started to really want to make this film to understand the situation. So, of course, the first land I have to go is Turkey, because they all come from the other side, which is Turkey. So I went to Izmir and go to the camps on the north border. So I started making this film. Then that curiosity brought me to Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Gaza, and Africa, Kenya, and our team also went to Bangladesh, which is extremely sad situation today. And also we have team go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those troublesome area to make this film. So this journey, of course, the film is finished. It's going to be in the theaters globally, and I received a lot of attention. But during this whole year, also I have a lot of obligations to make my shows, my art shows. So I did about 10 museum shows in the same time. And in each of the show, I try to put some of the artworks relate to refugee situation, just to alarm people, to see, to try to announce this tragedy, and I see this is far beyond recognition. I think mainstream media or world or intelligence are trying to avoid to face and to really discuss this matter in much deeper level. This is 21st century. How can we still have this kind of 65 million people being forced out their homes? And so this is, I don't want to repeat, you must know everything. So to tell that why I have to make effort, because I'm still artist doing works in the museums, I think it will be, I already decided to porcelains in Turkey, because the early relations between China and Turkey have this kind of trading since the 13th, 14th century, and it goes on. So, but those porcelains, even the old time, they always put an important message in there, either religious text or some motives they think it's worth to put in those very precious.
And even, I believe, in China, they were making porcelain for the Ottoman court with Islamic motifs, deliberate and phrases. Isn't that right, Nazan?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I know that. It's one of the things you showed me yourself. Huh?
That's true. It's always it's a common practice to put something memorable or stories on those porcelain motifs.
But another message of what seems to come out of these works, these specific works particularly, is that, as the French say, plus ça change, la même chose. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Would you agree with that? And do you think that, I'm sure you agree with that.
No, I don't understand French, so it's not
but do you think the more things change, the more they stay the same in terms of the humankind? Do you think we're in some way, do you think there's, in other words, is there such a thing as progress?
Yes, this is progress. As long as there's effort, there's progress. I don't believe French says there's no progress, then we're all in perfumes. So I think this is definitely human progress, especially in past 100 years. We see, but the question is not is there progress or if the progress leading us to a better condition. That's also questionable. But certainly, if we forget a lot, if we trying to seeking something new in such a speed.
But you've done this extraordinary wallpaper as well, which somehow is almost like, I mean, it is a kind of Greek hero. It's there's the motif of the ancient times, as it were, that coming up to the present. You know, there's one very beautiful, one of the beautiful plates has the motif. One of the beautiful plates has the motif of a, you know, I'm sorry to go back to Egypt, the Egyptian harpist or the Greek harpist, and in the middle, and then down below, you can see a pianist probably playing on a sort of bad grand piano in a camp.
As an artist, you're always trying to copy or fake or to see, to make something which can cope with your own time, to leave some kind of form or shape or sound which can re-announce the dignity of the people at your time. So this is.
So where is the present for you in relation to the past and the future, and a possible future?
I think as a person doing art, I normally call it artist, is constantly to want to have the sensitivity to understand the truth of today. Which is very difficult because it's very confusion and because human never being so in such a complexity, you know, with fast change in every aspect. But still, we need to always find and grab something we can call it art and to as a testimony or as evidence for our time.
Through film, through pottery, through porcelain, through film, through photographs, through your blogs and your various kind of use of social media. Sure. Is it all the same, or is it there's a kind of difference? And then I'm going to throw this. I'm going to ask people in the audience here if they have questions. So is that right? What? We have time.
We can clearly see is big difference. You see, if you see, United States have a new president, then everybody start to think, oh, that's some kind of big change, or you see, oh, people start to worry about politics, start to worry about, so many things which can dramatically change the average people's life. So. There's always, we always have to make choice. We always have to say, is that going to be better? This is a very simple question, but everybody have to ask that, because we all have children, we all have people who is old, and the old people always tells us what's like, before, and of course we don't want our children to live the same kind of condition as we do. We always want to say, okay, maybe we have to fight for something,
Well, a German philosopher called the principle of hope. Would you say that's an important thing?
I don't know German philosopher,
It's called Ernst Bloch, but never mind. I know you're always saying. Yeah. But I mean, the principle of hope is a kind of beautiful phrase, isn't it?
No, I don't know. I really don't know what it. No, I don't speak German also.
I know, even though you live in Berlin now.
I live in Berlin for 2 years. I feel so happy. One day I've asked myself why I'm so happy here. And I realized because I don't speak I'm the happiest person in Berlin.
How often do you go back to, Weiwei, how often do you go now back to China, and what is it like for you now?
China is...
At this moment, when were you last there?
China is fast developing. On the airport, that happened on this airport magazine or airplane magazine. It talk about China and Turkey's relations, which looks quite positive, and you know, they have seems they are quite happy, you know, and with. And today we went through the market, the beautiful market. It's ancient market from like 15th century. The saddest thing in the market, the most beautiful thing is the architecture, but the saddest thing in the market is everything produced from my hometown. Maybe 99% of stuff. And exactly same, every shop is
same
the
is true in London too.
Same as in New York, London, or anywhere. So I try to imagine how much money Chinese really made. My God, everybody using the same stuff. And
you think this glass was made in China?
Could be. China is, you know, hardworking, a very good businessman, and you know, smart, and of course, it should be rewarded. But as a result, we all somehow, you know, you look at anybody, you see, oh, that's something I'm very familiar. You know, it's come from China. You know, so.
But you go to China. You're going to China from time to time, don't you?
My mom refused me to go back to see her because she's 85 years old. You know, she still remembers when I was detained and nobody tells her where I am. You know, I can never really, nobody can tell her, you know. In 81 days, she doesn't know where I am. You know, it's impossible for her to even to know if I'm in jail or if I get lost.
She doesn't want you to go back, in other words?
No, she will never let me go back. She said, don't come back. She has a reason. Two of my lawyers are still in jail. One sentenced 5 years, one sentenced over 11 years. It's my lawyer, you know, it's just human rights lawyer. And so...
You don't go back to China?
I do. When they released me, I immediately go back because first I want to test if I'm really free, yes, which is true, nobody bothers me. Second, I will tell them I'm not scared, you know. It's not, you know, it's not I just running away. It's just they shouldn't do that to me. So what do you actually do? For example, do you go to Yeniden, the famous Chinese place? I don't go back mainly because I cannot even love my country. If you love your country, you become a criminal. So that makes me very difficult to go back. So I say it's better I stay away.
Can you elaborate on that?
I used to write, if you want to understand your nation, you're already on the way to the prison. Because this is the truth. You know, many of people from my generation or younger, they just write a few lines on the blog, or they've been put in jail. So then what are you going to say? You know, it's not, you either say, okay, I want to stay in jail, or you say, okay, because my son is still young, I want to, you know, to be with him. So I send him to Germany and I stay with him. So there's not much choice, but it's okay. You know, time will never be like this. You know, this kind of situation will not last long because it's against humanity. Whatever against the humanity in the history will be proved, it's not going to last long.
I think we would agree. Listen, Weiwei, how do you respond to this, the syndrome of, whether you like it or not, you are a famous person. You know, you're the best-known faces in culture, in world culture of today. It's happened over the last 15 years or so. How do you feel about that? I mean, do you feel that, does it come with a sense of responsibility or a sense of power, useful power, because power can be a good thing as well as a bad thing? Or maybe it's only a bad thing. You tell me.
I always fight the very essential rights for individual, or very very essential understanding of freedom of speech and all those things. I was quite a private person for quite long, but not since I started to use internet. I become a very public figure. For several reasons. First, I have a lot to say on the internet, and the second, also I do feel if I more expose myself, I bring more or have less danger, which is wrong. I thought if I'm standing right in front of the spotlight, I'll be less danger.
When did you realize you were in the spotlight?
Huh?
When did you realize that you were in a kind of world spotlight?
When I post one article on my Twitter or blogs, in the Chinese blogs, the next morning I realized there's 200,000 people reposted. So that number made me really look at the number. I thought, okay, this is a revolution. If I can keep doing that, why we need demonstration on street, or we don't need, I can create a riot every day. So I keep doing that for a few years till Arab Spring happened. Then I was being put in jail. They thought this guy is really dangerous, which I think they're right. If they don't put me in jail, then I will become extremely dangerous. So they saved my life, and also maybe they saved their life also. So, yeah. So what the German philosopher said about that?
There's no hope? Do you think there's no hope? Is there hope or is there no hope?
For me, there's always hope. I appreciate life. I think it's such a beauty. Just look at those. I look at those rivers passing through our great city here. I think what a privilege people can live in this kind of location and have so many different kind of people together, different kind of religion, different kind of understanding, but still very harmoniously stay together. I think this, what a treasure, So there's a lot of hope. And the only hope is in humanity. As human, our happy or sadness is really we create that. It's all from our appreciation, or understanding, or our mistakes, or stupidity. So it's really all depends on each individual, and. That's why we need art exhibitions. That's why we still need to talk and
to help each other.
I think by communication we understand what's important. What's important to our life, and what is not so important.
And culture is one of the things, or maybe culture is everywhere, in everything. Would you think?
Yes, I think in the way.
I think we must bring some of our audience in. I know it's a huge audience and it's going to be difficult. Sorry, do we have microphones for people? Sorry, do we have microphones for people here? Yes. Or do they have loud voices? Come on, the lady over there. Why don't you stand up and shout? Anyway, but there should be. Huh?
Of course, freedom of expression is not just to make an individual as an individual, but also make a society as a healthy society. So I think to protect those rights are very important in any society, not only in China, in Turkey, also in Europe, or in the United States. And I think human rights or human dignity is a very general values in everywhere we have to protect, because we protect not just for us, but for the people who never have a voice in could be in Africa or in Asia, in anywhere. So this is something we always have to defend. Doesn't matter where.
Another question? Do we have somebody who would like to ask a question? Somebody right at the very, very back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The microphone.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is the social change you wish to incur through your art immediate? And what is the impact of your art measurable? Shall I repeat the question? Is the social change you wish to incur immediate? And is the impact of your art measurable in terms of social change? Thank you.
Can I say one thing first?
Yes, yes.
I think that art is above all a witness. Would you agree with that? Do you think art can change things? Or do you think it's merely a witness?
I think both. I think if I walk on the street in Latin America, which I just happened like 1 month ago, in Argentina, a group of young people, like 11 years old, come want to take a selfie, said, "You're Ai Weiwei." I said, "Yes." If I walk on street, a young lady ride a bicycle and with helmet jumped down in front of me, said, "Can we take a selfie?" I said, "Yes." I never take them lightly. Why these young men or young boys want to take selfie with me? Many of them told me, "What you did is so important. It changes my life. It changes my perspective, and it make me feel I can do something." So those words are most important. It's much better than my artworks. But my voice reaches. I mean, look at this room. So many people from all kind of background, young people, old people, and I believe they honestly want to share their life's precious moment, to hear some voice which can really make us understand each other. That kind of possibilities, I think for me, it's such a rewarding. I never think my art is important, but to reach out, to successfully communicate with the people, I think that's very important.
Even to one person.
Yeah?
Even to one person, I
Even
feel.
to one person. When I start to write blog in China, in Beijing, in the midnight, I always imagine someone somewhere, I don't know, in the very poor, remote area, they also, that moment, not sleep and see what I'm writing. I will feel so happy just sitting there writing for him or her in my life. This is the happiest moment you can do.
Somebody else? Another question? Well, there must be some more questions from there. Or are you all so desperate to take selfies? Or are we going to thank Weiwei for... Yeah, so, come on. Yeah, speak up, stand up and speak loudly. I know it's a challenge, but it's good for you.
I was just going to talk about your refugee experience. Are you trying to do something else about refugees, or for instance, maybe protect refugee artists, form an academy for refugees, or because you're making a lot of change with your ideas, with your presence. Okay, whether you like it or not, you're a power. So are you willing to use it for refugees as well as the refugee situation, since it is the topic of this world right now? Maybe.
I involved 2 years in this film. I just described about. Now the film is going to launch. After this show, in next 2 months, I will travel to at least 10 or different nations or locations to promote the film. The cinema would reach a lot of people. And also the cinema is going to present by Amazon. It's going to be, everybody can download it or can and and there's a lot of critics about this film because they said this is maybe the most, broadly or comprehensive view about the refugees of our time, because very often we see news about refugees, but it's very just a few minutes clipped. It never really covers the history, the complexity of the different kind of refugee situations. Some are victimized by the war, some are environmental problems or religious problems or famine, or it's all kind of refugee conditions in the world. So, and I will do a tour in many cities for premiere of this film. I think very often people, when the problem getting too big, people often see what can we do. It's first it seems too big, but I think everybody can do just one thing. Just say I did that thing for refugee. It can be just a pair of shoes or something some moment you think to find an organization and give them little support. I think the refugees, when they come to those nations, or of course they're seeking for safety, but what's most lacking and the saddest thing is they never understand who they are. And that kind of lacking of understanding or sharing them just as us, I'm sure many of you, your relatives or your grandfather or father may be refugees. So, but people trying to forget those things and not to helping, which by any circumstances, this is no excuse to helping someone who is desperately in need. So, of course, I do all, you see the expression, the center area, the most important piece is about the refugee situation, and I will always do it. And in the, also, there's many other ways to do it.
Or artists within the refugee communities, there are a lot of artists within them as well.
Yeah, artists, I mean, the lady, our friend is saying there are artist refugees. Do you know any yourself?
Oh yes, of course.
One knows artists in this world who are in prison. Very badly. They're very difficult situations for many people in this world. And do you think, if I'm allowed another question, Weiwei myself, do you think nationalism what do you think the good side of nationalism is, and what are the bad sides? Or is that a silly question?
Good side, bad side is that you should ask, Brexit, what's the good side or what's the bad side about the Brexit?
It's all bad, I think.
So nationalism is all bad.
Another question, gentleman over there, and then we'll come to you.
It's okay if I ask another question. I'm just cheating, sir.
We can't hear you. Speak up.
Okay. As Paul Gauguin, the most impressionist artist, said, modern art is losing its audience. Modern art is characterized by its losing of its audience. Okay. So if we're talking about social change through art, how can we carry art to the masses? Because, look at us. We are just a few thousand people discussing irrelevant issues that are irrelevant to the people. How can we carry art to the masses? This is a problem we also have in Turkey. We have a very small elite going to art meetings like this, aware of art movements, but then the masses are completely out of the picture.
Maybe it's called education, but what do you think?
How can we, if we're talking about social change in this perspective of art, how can we carry art to the masses? Thank you.
I think art is a way of living, it's a philosophy. So if we think if we don't divide masses or us, you know, we are the same. I do art mostly for myself. I'm not a Jesus or someone to save somebody's life. I have a curiosity and my obligation to improve my life. That's I'm a very selfish person in that way, but I also believe I'm part of the masses. You know, if I can do that to me, and maybe, you know, I can find a way to reach out and, you know, to do also some other people can share my feelings. But of course, you cannot ask more than that. I mean, it takes, I mean, the Chairman Mao is the most brilliant person trying to educate the masses and turn out to become a human disaster. So, you know, I think we have to, the only possibility we can be saved is by ourselves. It's not really, we have to find someone like a Chinese guy or someone to help us, but rather, you know, ourselves. So maybe, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, of course, a lot of people in this room are very privileged in many ways, but art is, and of course, art is also a very elitist thing, but at the same time, I think anybody is free to join this elite. And I think that's the important thing, and it's amazing who actually the people who do join the elite in different forms and get through. Certainly I see that in my own country, and I think that could be true and should be true in this country, partly through education, but also because people find their way as individuals. People need to find their way as individuals. Sorry to kind of answer, but that's my answer. Anyway. Come on, another question. Lady over there. One or two more.
Last one.
I am a high school art teacher, and I have a lot of my students here tonight that have been listening and watching your videos over the last week, and a lot of them are considering careers in art, and I'm wondering if you have any specific advice that you would give them.
Advice to the students, basically. Advice to art students.
I'm very bad in giving advice. Once in Netherlands, the whole students asked me what's the advice. I said quit the school and do some traveling and, you know, to go to the area which, you know, you would never imagine. And, you know, you should learn from real life. And trying to do something which is more practical, to learn how to cook, to see how other people make their dinner. You know, those things, for me, it helps me the most to really put your hands on to solving problems and but today's education, I don't know. In China, it's like you come out of a university, you don't know how to prepare a food, you don't know how to wash dishes, you look like a dummy or something. You know, after 20, 30 years of education, spend the best time of your life, you're basically, you know, nothing, you know. So I really question about this education system, why people have to spend like first 20, 30 best of their time really in this machine to trying to see, okay, after we polish you and you become a useful person. I think the concept is totally wrong.
One more question.
Of course.
One more.
This is advice from someone never get a
question.
degree. You know, don't trust me, you know, because I don't know better than this.
Okay, sir.
What is your workload while creating your art? Are you a hardworking man working for 8 hours a day or time to time? Are you expecting messages from skies?
I'm a hardworking man, but not on my art. I only talk about art in this meeting. You know, I work more like as a manager or more as a director, or I would look through the writing, the article, the color, you know, all those details. I never really think I'm sorry, I have to say that I don't really be very conscious about as an artist. You know, I have to use the words, but I'm not I'm a fake artist.
Stop or not?
But I faked so well.
One more?
Many people still believe me. I'm an artist. You know, this is true, but nobody would believe that.
My friend Nazan says we have another 10 minutes, so
10
please.
minutes. Okay.
10 minutes.
That's a lot of time.
Come on, young lady, over here, the lady in the beautiful green dress.
Sorry, thanks for the compliment. As being a creator or even a cultural icon right now nowadays, who is constantly changing and inspiring the different scenes from art to international politics to youth culture and everywhere. And personally, I would like to thank you. You already changed my aesthetic perception and philosophy of myself. I do really appreciate for the past years. Who are your personal heroes who already changed your philosophy or aesthetic perception?
My heroes is the one who want to step in front of me and say, let's take a selfie. Then I think, oh, that must be my personal hero because, you know, who wants to take a selfie with this guy, you know? So, yeah. Yes?
Is ceramics, crafts or art? We need your comment.
I don't understand.
Can you
Ceramic
say that
is
again?
crafts or art?
Sorry?
Is ceramic is a craft or art?
Is ceramic a craft or art?
It can be both. It can be crafts and it can be art. You know, it's talk about you talk about sex. It's love or
Something else.
something else. It can be both. It's everything. You know.
Of course, this exhibition certainly to me demonstrates that ceramics, even today, can be art. Anyway, another question. We've got
Last.
somebody over there in the middle there. Did I see a hand somewhere? Or if not, this guy over here, or is it? I can't quite see. It's this guy over here with the black T-shirt. That's you, okay?
I have an image carved in my head, a Hollywood celebrity dressed in a very expensive dress, wrapped around a refugee golden blanket, and under that image was written, it's a performance by Ai Weiwei at some film festival, gala, something. And that image kind of turned my stomach around. I was scandalized. So my question is, where is the boundary between awareness and trivializing a world crisis?
What is the question?
The question was, is there an awareness between trivialization and awareness? There was something to do with some invitation to a gala, which showed some baby dressed in a, I don't know. Did you pass?
What's the question?
It's about trivialization of big themes around the refugee crisis, inevitably.
You know,
and
those kind
particularly
of
the
questions
baby.
you can never really answer because, you know, it's very easy. You can see the question trying to put different kind of judgment together. Of course, when I make the film, when students stand up, why don't you make the film? The money you can buy a toothbrush to give refugees. I'm speechless, you know, because, you know, as human, we have all kind of expressions. We have always interpret our feelings. So it's very hard to really just simply categorize those things, you know. Okay.
Please, the guy in white. Yeah.
We know that you choose to live and work in Germany. So if you get an invitation from modern Turkish Republic, would you do the same in these conditions? Thank you.
Would you live here?
Yes, I would live here if you will get, you know, if somebody wants me to teach in the university here. And of course, I may consider, you know, because
So I would like to learn, why did you choose Germany?
oh, it's
They invited him, I think.
like you ask. you ask somebody why you married to that woman, right? And this could be another one. And the life is all built by this kind of chances. When I was detained, the German made a great effort in every single discussions between Germans politicians, and they're very determined. They ask Chinese authority why this person has to be detained. Why he cannot come to university to teach. So after a while, Chinese government got very tired. Before German opens their mouths, they said, why you have to ask about Ai Weiwei? So, I really respect what German did in those, in terms of my situation. And I don't think, even the British, after I got my passport and visa, they gave me 15 days. They said, you have a criminal records. My God. This is, if Chinese government said I have criminal records, I would laugh. But if British, says that, it takes me really a while to think about it. British.
All I have to do is apologize on behalf of the British. I have to apologize on behalf of the British. And you're not the only person I have to apologize to on behalf of the British.
We all live in the reality. We cannot trust anybody, any government, anywhere. This is clear. We are not so naive. That's why we need individual power. Otherwise, we'll be sold to somebody. There's so many deals behind us. As individuals, how can you cope with this situation?
There are thousands of so-called illegal immigrants in detention centers in Great Britain, for example.
And in Germany, just only a few people being processed. Most people, the million people in Germany still live in the unbelievable so-called centers nobody tells them when they will become a human, to find a job, not to just get some money from the government subsidy, but really the children need, they need a playground, they need to find another children. So this is a horrible situation.
Would you like a world without passports? Weiwei?
No, that's, we talk too far away. No, let them ask questions.
Okay, another question. One last question from this boy, and it'll be the very last question, and then I will try and sum up. Yeah. Nazan will translate. Ask the question in Turkish as you're so close. Nazan will translate.
No, leave him.
Kendisi dedi ki eğer üniversiteden teklif gelirse çalışabilir. Binlerce KHK'lı akademisyen atıldı bu ülkede. Ve KHK'lı akademisyenler atıldı ve bunların terörist olarak tırnak içerisinde ifade edildiği bir ülkede gelir, şu anki aktivist kurumuna göre gelir, tek çalışır mı yoksa buna karşı bir söz söyler mi?
You were asked whether if there would be such an invitation, would you come to Turkey? You said yes, why not? If I would get an invitation from a university, I would come and teach. And she says now, that thousands of teachers,
in jail,
university teachers are
in prison.
They have lost their jobs and they have their trials. Even if you would know this, would you have come?
Okay.
You need the answer or not? I don't know. Seems everybody knows the answer. It's very difficult to answer this kind of question because I have a friend. He come to see my show. During the trip, I do the refugee, research. She's a doctor. She's a professor in your university, and yesterday she told me she's being laid off, and with 12 other professors, And because 1 year ago they signed some peace treaty, or 2 years ago, I don't know exactly.
Some petition.
And yeah, petition. So she's been, but I see this kind of condition all the time in China, in many, many locations. This is not something new, That's why we need to struggle. There's always good teachers, still in the university, in high school, in schools, they're still helping those students. And of course, if it's needed, I would go, I would come. But, I don't know how long I can stay. Maybe the second day I will be fired. It's not about hiring or firing. It's really about we have to defend those values. When a society have to kill or have to dismiss their best mind, you can see the result. This is not a good sign for any healthy society to just dismiss their professors or the knowledge people.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should say thank you to Ai Weiwei.